Welcome to the Boring Podcast. Tonight we'll calmly talk through something that happened, perhaps, or didn't. If this helps you drift off, we've done our job. Feel free to do nothing at all.
Yes, indeed. Doing nothing at all sounds quite appealing right now. We'll be discussing something quite ordinary, something you might encounter every day, or perhaps not. Something so mundane, it might just lull you into a peaceful slumber. We're going to talk about cereal boxes. Or, more specifically, the flaps. Yes, the flaps on cereal boxes. The ones you fold closed. Or open. They're there, aren't they? They usually are.
Cereal boxes. Such fascinatingly unfascinating objects. Rectangular prisms, mostly, containing processed grains, often shaped into various forms. But tonight, we're not focusing on the contents. No. We're talking about the cardboard container itself. And even more specifically than that, the flaps, the little cardboard extensions that fold over to keep the cereal fresh. Or somewhat fresh. Or at least contained. They're there. They exist. They fold.
These flaps, they're not just random pieces of cardboard, are they? They're designed. Someone, somewhere, put thought into these flaps. Perhaps not a great deal of thought, but some thought nonetheless. They have a purpose, after all. They close the box. They keep the cereal from spilling. They sometimes have little tabs you tuck in. Or sometimes they just fold over. Sometimes they're glued. Variations exist. We'll explore these variations, slowly and methodically.
The folds. The creases. The way the cardboard bends. It's quite a phenomenon. You have the top flaps and the bottom flaps. Sometimes they're identical. Sometimes they're different. Sometimes one is wider than the other. Why is that? We might ponder that later. Or perhaps not. It's not really that important. But it is something to consider. The subtle differences in flap design. The nuances. The subtle variations.
And the printing. Oh, the printing on these flaps. Sometimes it's just plain cardboard, a muted brown. Sometimes it's brightly colored, perhaps with a cartoon character, or a nutritional information panel. Or sometimes a game, a maze perhaps, or a word search. So much potential for entertainment contained within these unassuming flaps. Perhaps not entertainment, but something to occupy the mind briefly while pouring a bowl of cereal.
Think about the glue. Or the lack thereof. Some flaps are glued shut, requiring a bit of effort to open, a gentle tear along a perforated line, or sometimes a more forceful rip. Other flaps are simply tucked in, held in place by friction, a delicate balance of forces, gravity, friction, the rigidity of the cardboard. It's all quite fascinating when you think about it. Or perhaps not.
And the sound the cardboard makes when you open it. A gentle rustling, a soft crackling, sometimes a tearing sound. It's a subtle sound, a quiet sound that often goes unnoticed. But it's there. It's part of the experience. The cereal box flap experience. An experience we're delving into tonight. Slowly and deliberately.
Consider the edges of the flaps. Sometimes they're straight, cleanly cut. Sometimes they're slightly rounded, perhaps with a slight bevel. These subtle design choices are there for a reason. Or perhaps they're not. Maybe they're just a byproduct of the manufacturing process. But they're there. They exist. We can observe them. We can contemplate their existence. Less than / person 1 greater than. Less than person 1 greater than. So on the side panel, adjacent to the primary display panel, often there's a secondary graphic. Sometimes it's a continuation of the main image, like maybe more of the cartoon mascot, or an extended vista of the idyllic farm where the grains are supposedly grown. But sometimes, and this is where it gets subtly intriguing, there's something completely different. Perhaps a maze, or a word search, or, and this has happened, just a solid block of color. I once saw a box of oat-based cereal that had a light beige rectangle on the side panel. Just beige. Not even a different shade of beige. Just beige. It was quite something. Or rather, quite nothing. Very calming, though.
Yes, the side panel. A frequently overlooked aspect of the cereal box experience. It's often where they put the nutritional information, which, let's be honest, nobody really looks at. I mean, we all know cereal isn't exactly health food, is it? Unless it's one of those high-fiber brand cereals. And even then, it's debatable. Anyway, back to the side panel. Sometimes they'll put games there. Little mazes, as you mentioned. Or connect the dots. Things to keep children occupied while they're waiting for their bowl to be filled. I suppose that's thoughtful of the cereal manufacturers. Though personally, I always found the puzzles a bit too simple. A bit underwhelming. Like a maze with only one path. Where's the challenge in that?
The top flap. Now, this is a crucial structural component, obviously. It keeps the cereal fresh, theoretically. But it also offers another canvas for design, however small. Sometimes it's just the brand name repeated, perhaps in a slightly different font. Other times, it's a brief slogan like, "Start your day the right way," which, again, is debatable. Is cereal really the right way to start the day? I mean, it's mostly sugar, isn't it? Or at least, the ones I tend to favor are the sugary ones, the ones with the marshmallows, shaped like cartoon characters. Those are my favorites.
The bottom flap. Often just glued shut. Nothing to see there. Unless you pry it open, which I wouldn't recommend. It's usually just more cardboard. Plain, unprinted cardboard. Not even beige, just cardboard colored. It serves its purpose, I suppose, keeping the bottom of the box sealed. Preventing spillage. Which is important, I suppose. Nobody wants cereal all over the pantry floor. That would be a mess to clean up. Especially if it's a sugary cereal. The ants would be attracted to it.
I've occasionally encountered boxes where the bottom flap has a coupon printed on it. Now that's exciting, isn't it? A chance to save a few cents on your next purchase, though often the expiration date has long since passed. Which is a bit disappointing. A missed opportunity for savings. Still, the potential was there. The promise of a discount. It's the thought that counts. Perhaps.
And then there's the back of the box. So much going on back there. Often, it's a continuation of the theme from the front. More images of the happy family enjoying their breakfast. Or maybe some facts about the cereal itself. Like how many vitamins and minerals it contains. Or how it's fortified with essential nutrients. Though, as we've discussed, it's probably mostly sugar. Still, they try to make it sound healthy.
They often have little games or activities on the back, too. More mazes. Word searches. Sometimes even little quizzes, like, "What kind of cereal eater are you?" With a series of multiple-choice questions. I remember one time, I took a quiz like that, and it told me I was a fun-loving cereal adventurer. Which I thought was quite accurate, though I'm not sure what a cereal adventurer actually is. It sounds exciting, though.
Indeed. The back of the box. A wealth of information. And entertainment. A veritable tapestry of colors and text. Designed to capture the attention of the consumer, to entice them, to purchase the product within. Even if the product is, let's be honest, mostly just sugar. And air. Lots of air. Those bags are never as full as they appear, are they? It's always a bit disappointing. Like opening a present and finding it half empty.
Yes, the deceptive fullness of the cereal bag. A topic for another time, perhaps. But for now, let us return to the box itself, this cardboard container. A vessel for sugary delights. A canvas for marketing ingenuity. A source of endless fascination, if you look closely enough. Or even if you don't, it's still there. Silent. Unassuming. Waiting to be opened. And then discarded. Such is the life cycle of a cereal box. Less than, person 1 greater than, less than person 1 greater than. So as we were saying, these cereal box flaps, they're often glued, you see. Glued down. Or sometimes they're tucked in. Not glued, but tucked. And that tucking, it's a specific kind of tucking, not a tight tuck. Not like tucking in a shirt. But more of a gentle fold. A resting of the cardboard upon itself. It's designed that way, you know. Someone designed it. They thought about how the flap would rest, how it would fold, how it would be tucked. Or glued. It's quite a thought, really. The engineering of it all. The cardboard. The glue. The tuck.
Yes, the tucking or the gluing. It's a crucial element of the cereal box flap experience. Sometimes, the flap might be perforated. Little dotted lines where you can tear it. Sometimes, you tear it neatly. Other times, it rips unevenly. And then you're left with this jagged edge, a testament to the imperfect nature of tearing perforated cardboard. Or maybe you don't tear it at all. Maybe you just leave it tucked. Or glued. It depends on the box, really, and the type of cereal. Some cereals require a more secure closure, others, not so much. It all depends.
And these flaps, they're not just flat pieces of cardboard. They often have designs on them. Pictures, sometimes. Words, too. Information about the cereal. Maybe a maze or a word search. Sometimes there are little games printed on these flaps. Little distractions to keep you occupied while you're eating your breakfast. Or maybe you don't play the games. Maybe you just look at the pictures. Or read the words. It all depends, really. On your mood, perhaps. Or the time of day.
Those little games, they can be quite engaging. Sometimes they're mazes. You follow the lines with your finger, trying to find your way to the center. Or maybe it's a word search. You scan the grid of letters, looking for hidden words. These little diversions, they add a certain something to the cereal eating experience. A little bit of extra entertainment, something to do while you're enjoying your bowl of cereal. Or maybe you don't play them. Perhaps you prefer just looking at the box, observing the design.
And the colors, they're important too. Bright colors, often. Eye-catching. Designed to grab your attention in the grocery store aisle. Reds, blues, yellows, greens. Sometimes they're very vibrant. Other times, they're more muted. It depends on the cereal, really. And the brand. Some brands prefer bolder colors. Others, more subtle shades. It's all very deliberate. Very carefully chosen. The colors, the designs, the placement of the elements.
Yes, the colors are a key part of the overall aesthetic. They can influence your perception of the cereal. Make it seem more appealing. More appetizing. The psychology of color, it's quite fascinating. How different colors evoke different emotions, different feelings. It's all very carefully considered by the marketing teams. They want to make the cereal box as attractive as possible. To draw your eye, to entice you to purchase the product. It's all about marketing.
It's quite a process, really. The design of a cereal box. From the choice of cardboard, to the placement of the flaps, to the colors, the designs, the games. It's all carefully planned. Carefully executed. It's more than just a box. It's a vessel. A container. A protector of the precious cereal within. And those flaps, they play a crucial role. In keeping the cereal fresh. In preserving its crispness.
And the glue, or the tuck. We mustn't forget about the glue, or the tuck. That's how the flaps stay closed, how they keep the cereal sealed inside. Protecting it from the outside world. From moisture, from air, from pests. It's a simple thing, really. Glue. Or a tuck. But it's an essential element of the cereal box design. It all works in harmony.
So as we were saying, or rather, as I was saying, and you were politely listening, or perhaps not, which is also fine, these cereal box flaps, well, they're something. They're rectangular, generally, though I suppose I've seen a few with a slight trapezoidal shape. Or maybe it was just the way the light was hitting them that day. It's hard to say for certain. Sometimes I wonder if anyone else spends this much time contemplating the mundane. Probably not. Anyway, back to the flaps. They're usually glued, aren't they? Or, perhaps more accurately, sealed. A glued seal. Yes, that sounds about right. Less than / person 1 greater than. Less than person 1 greater than.
Yes, glued or sealed. Or perhaps a combination of both. It's a fascinating process, really, when you think about it, which I rarely do, to be honest. The precision involved in ensuring each flap is securely fastened. Not too tight, mind you, lest it tear upon opening, but not too loose either, or the cereal might go stale. A delicate balance indeed. I once saw a documentary about the manufacturing of cardboard boxes. It was surprisingly unexciting. I think I fell asleep halfway through. Or maybe it was a quarter of the way through. Time is a funny thing.
Time is indeed a peculiar concept. Sometimes it feels like it's flying by, and other times it crawls at a snail's pace. Like when you're waiting for a pot of water to boil, an excruciatingly slow process. Speaking of slow, these cereal box flaps, they're often adorned with colorful designs, aren't they? Bright, primary colors, designed to catch the eye. Or perhaps just randomly chosen, Who knows? I once tried to match the colors on the box to the colors of the actual cereal inside. It didn't really work. Person 1 greater than, person 1 greater than.
No, I imagine not. The colors are often idealized. Brighter, more vibrant than the actual cereal pieces. Marketing, I suppose. It's all about presentation, creating an illusion of something more. More exciting, more flavorful. Though, in reality, it's just cereal. Small, dried pieces of grain, sometimes shaped into interesting forms. Like little ois. Or stars. Or even dinosaurs, though I've never actually seen dinosaur-shaped cereal myself. Maybe they exist, maybe they don't.
The mysteries of the cereal aisle are vast and uninteresting. But we digress. Back to the flaps. Sometimes they have little games printed on them. Mazes, word searches, that sort of thing. Designed to entertain children, I suppose. Or perhaps to distract them from the fact that they're eating processed grains. I once tried to complete a maze on a cereal box. It took me longer than I'd care to admit. Person 1 greater than. Person 1 greater than.
Mazes can be deceptively challenging. All those twists and turns. Dead ends. False promises of a quick route to the finish. Much like life, really. Full of unexpected detours and obstacles. And ultimately, leading to, well, the inevitable. But I'm getting rather philosophical, aren't I? Let's return to the cereal box flaps. They're there. They exist. That's something, isn't it?
It is something. Their very existence is noteworthy. In a completely unremarkable way, of course. But still. They serve a purpose. They keep the cereal fresh. They provide a surface for printing information and distractions. They fold. They unfold. They flap. It's a fascinatingly mundane process, truly captivating in its lack of captivation. Person 1 greater than. Person 1 greater than.
Indeed. The folding and unfolding. The subtle rustling sound of the cardboard as it bends. The slight resistance as you pull the flap open. The gentle release as you close it again. These are the small details that make up the experience. The cereal box flap experience. An experience that is, well, let's just say it's not exactly a roller coaster ride. More like a leisurely stroll through a very flat park.
A very flat park. A perfect analogy. Nothing too exciting. No sudden drops or sharp turns. Just flatness. And perhaps a gentle incline here and there. Or maybe not. It's hard to say for certain. Like these cereal box flaps. They're just there. Existing in their flap-like state. And that's okay. Person 1 greater than. Person 1 greater than. Person 1 greater than. Person 1 greater than. So we were talking about the cereal box, and more specifically, the top flap. The one you open to pour out the cereal. Sometimes it's a simple fold, sometimes it's a resealable feature, sometimes it has a little extra perforated bit you can tear off for a coupon or something. I've seen that less and less these days, actually. It used to be more common. The little perforated section. Anyway, we were discussing the various designs, and how some are more effective than others. Not at keeping the cereal fresh, necessarily, but just in the way they open and close. Some are quite stiff, some are flimsy, some have a satisfying snap, others just sort of flop. You know what I mean? It's subtle, but it's there.
Yes, the subtle differences. That's what we're focusing on here. These small details, the almost imperceptible variations in cardboard construction. It's a whole world of texture and functionality contained within that small rectangular flap. Think about the glue, how it adheres the flap to the box. Sometimes it's a strong bond, sometimes it peels away easily, sometimes it leaves a little residue on the box. And the printing on the flap itself. Often it's just a repetition of the logo or some other design element from the front of the box. Sometimes it has additional information, like a game or a puzzle, or maybe some facts about the cereal itself. It's a small canvas, really. A small rectangular canvas for branding and information. And sometimes it's just plain cardboard. Which, in its own way, is also a design choice. It is.
Right. Plain cardboard. Like a blank slate. An unprinted surface. Sometimes it's a slightly different color than the rest of the box. Maybe a little lighter, or a little browner, depending on the type of cardboard they used. It's interesting to consider the different shades of brown in cardboard. There's a whole spectrum, from light beige to almost black, and the texture too. Smooth, rough, corrugated. It can be quite complex when you think about it. This little flap. So much variation within such a simple structure.
Absolutely. We talked about the shape too, didn't we? How it's not always a perfect rectangle. Sometimes it has rounded corners, sometimes it's more of a trapezoid. Sometimes it has a little indentation, a thumb notch to make it easier to open. That little detail, that small ergonomic consideration, can make a big difference in the overall user experience. The way your thumb fits into that little notch, the leverage it provides, it's quite fascinating. And then, of course, there's the sound it makes when you open it. The subtle ripping sound or the crisp snap. It all adds to the sensory experience of opening a box of cereal.
The sound, yes. We mustn't forget the sound. A quiet rip, a gentle rustle, a sharp snap. Or sometimes just a soft thud. It depends on the type of cereal, too. If it's a puffed cereal, it might muffle the sound a bit. If it's a denser cereal, like granola, it might create a more distinct sound, and the amount of cereal in the box also affects the sound. A full box will sound different from a nearly empty one. It's a subtle but noticeable difference. These are the things we're considering.
And the way the flap folds back. Does it stay flat against the back of the box? Does it spring back up? Does it curl slightly? These are all important factors to consider. The structural integrity of the flap. Its ability to maintain its shape. It's a testament to the engineering that goes into designing these seemingly simple things. The angles, the folds, the glue. It's quite remarkable. And then there's the inside of the flap. Sometimes it's just plain cardboard, sometimes it has printing, sometimes it's a different color. It's another opportunity for branding or for providing additional information.
We were discussing the different ways the flap interacts with the rest of the box too. How it fits into the opening, how snugly it closes. Sometimes it's a perfect fit, sometimes there's a little gap, sometimes the flap overlaps the box, sometimes it's slightly recessed. And the edges of the flap, are they smooth or rough? Are they cut straight or at an angle? These are all design choices, conscious or unconscious, that contribute to the overall aesthetic of the cereal box. And they're worth considering, worth pondering.
Indeed. And what about those little tabs on some flaps? The ones you tuck in to keep the box closed. Sometimes they're perforated, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're easy to tuck in, sometimes they're a bit of a struggle. And sometimes, the flap doesn't have any tabs at all. It just relies on the friction between the cardboard to stay closed. Which can be effective, or not, depending on the quality of the cardboard and the design of the flap. So many variables to consider. So many nuances. It's a complex world, this world of cereal box flaps. It really is.
So as we were saying, these cereal box flaps, they're fascinating in their, well, flapness. You see, they fold over, and sometimes under, depending on how you look at it. And this folding, this very act of folding, is what creates the structure, the very being, of the cereal box flap. Without the fold, it wouldn't be a flap. It would just be, well, a piece of cardboard. And that's not very interesting, is it? Just a flat, unassuming piece of cardboard. Not a flap. No, a flap is something more. It has purpose. A function. To close. To seal. To keep the cereal fresh. Or at least, fresher than it would be without the flap. So yes, the fold. Very important.
The fold is indeed crucial. One might even say essential. Imagine a world without folded cereal box flaps. A world where the cereal is constantly exposed to the elements. The air, the dust, the occasional stray. Well, let's not dwell on that. The point is, the fold creates a barrier. A thin, papery barrier, yes, but a barrier nonetheless. And this barrier, this folded flap, is what stands between your breakfast and the outside world. A silent guardian, if you will. Protecting the crispy, crunchy, or sometimes soggy contents within. And that's something worth appreciating, isn't it? The quiet heroism of the cereal box flap. It's a thankless job, really. But someone has to do it.
And the glue. We mustn't forget the glue. Holding the flap together, allowing it to adhere to the box itself. A thin strip. Often, sometimes, a series of dots, but always there. Working tirelessly behind the scenes. Invisible, yet essential. Like the air we breathe, or the gentle hum of the refrigerator. We don't often think about it, but it's there. The glue. Holding it all together. Keeping the flap in its place. A small detail perhaps, but crucial nonetheless. Without the glue, the flap would just be, well, a floppy piece of cardboard. And that wouldn't do it all, would it? No. The glue is essential. Absolutely essential.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the printing on the flap. The vibrant colors, the bold fonts, sometimes a cartoon character, sometimes just the name of the cereal, repeated over and over. But always there, adding a touch of visual interest to the otherwise mundane cardboard. A splash of color in a world of beige. It's something to look at while you pour your milk, while you contemplate the day ahead. A small distraction perhaps, but a welcome one. The printing on the flap is more than just decoration. It's an experience, a visual feast for the eyes. And sometimes, if you look closely enough, you might even find a fun fact or a word search. A little something extra to keep you entertained while you eat your breakfast.
Indeed. And the texture. The smooth, almost waxy feel of the printed side. The slightly rougher, more fibrous texture of the unprinted side. Two distinct sensations, yet both contributing to the overall experience of the cereal box flap. It's a tactile journey, a sensory exploration. You run your fingers over the smooth surface, then flip it over to feel the subtle roughness of the other side. Back and forth, back and forth. A simple pleasure, perhaps, but a pleasure nonetheless. The texture of the flap. It's something to consider, something to appreciate.
Consider the perforation. That cleverly designed line of weakness, allowing for easy opening and closing. Not too strong, not too weak. Just right. A testament to the ingenuity of cereal box engineers. They've truly thought of everything. The placement, the length, the depth of the perforation, all carefully calculated to ensure optimal flap performance. It's a marvel of modern engineering, really. This small, unassuming line, capable of so much else. It allows us access to our breakfast, and then seals it away again, protecting it from the outside world. The perforation. A small detail, but a crucial one.
And the sound. The gentle rustling as you open the flap. A soft, almost imperceptible sound, yet somehow satisfying. It's the sound of breakfast, the sound of anticipation, the sound of the day beginning. A quiet whisper, a gentle promise of nourishment to come. The sound of the flap opening. It's a subtle symphony, a delicate melody, a sound that often goes unnoticed, yet is always there, adding another layer to the complex tapestry of the cereal box experience.
And the way the flap folds back down. Not completely flat, mind you, but with a slight curve, a gentle bend. It rests against the box, almost reluctantly, as if waiting to be opened again. A silent invitation, a subtle promise of more breakfast to come. The way the flap folds, it's a delicate dance, a graceful ballet, a subtle reminder that the day is not yet over, and that there's always time for another bowl of cereal. And that, in itself, is a comforting thought, isn't it? Knowing that the flap is there, waiting, ready to be opened again.
So sometimes, on the cereal box, there's a flap. And it's not always the same. I mean, some flaps are just plain, Just a folded piece of cardboard, really. Nothing special. But other times, they have, a design. Or maybe a little game. I've seen mazes. Or sometimes, they have little puzzles, like word searches, which I guess is a kind of maze with letters. So really, they're all kind of the same when you think about it. Just cardboard. Folded and unfolded. Over and over until the cereal is gone. And then the box goes in the recycling, most of the time. Unless you keep it for some reason. Sometimes people collect them, I don't know why.
Right. The flaps. They can be interesting or not. Sometimes it's just a picture of the cereal, like the same picture that's on the front of the box, but smaller. Or maybe a different angle. Sometimes they show the cereal with milk. Which is helpful, I guess, because that's how you eat it, usually. Although you could eat it dry, I suppose. But then you don't need a bowl. Unless you just like using bowls. Some people do. And that's okay. Anyway, the flaps, sometimes they have little recipes, like barge. Like things you can make with the cereal. Besides just eating it with milk. Like cereal bars, maybe? Or cookies. Although I'm not sure how you'd make cookies with cereal. I'd have to look at one of those recipes sometime. Maybe.
I've also seen them with coupons. Like, for a discount on your next box of cereal. Which makes sense, from a marketing perspective. It encourages you to buy more of the same cereal. Or sometimes, it's a coupon for a different product from the same company. Like if it's a breakfast cereal, maybe it's a coupon for another breakfast food. Like yogurt or something, I don't know. It's all just ways to get you to buy more things, which is what companies do. That's their job, I guess. To sell things. And coupons help with that. And flaps are a good place to put them, because you have to open the flap to get to the cereal. So you'll see the coupon.
It's interesting how much thought goes into these things. Like, the design of a cereal box. It's just a box, but there are so many decisions that go into it. The colors, the fonts, the images, the placement of everything. Even the flaps. Which most people probably don't even think about. They just open the box, pour the cereal, and then throw the box away, without even really noticing the flap, or what's on it. Which is kind of sad, in a way, because someone put effort into designing it. Even if it's just a plain flap, someone decided that it should be a plain flap.
I suppose it all comes down to cost, in the end. Like, a more elaborate flap design probably costs more to print, so they have to balance the cost with the potential benefit. Like, will a more interesting flap design actually lead to more sales? It's hard to say. Maybe. Maybe not. There are probably studies on this kind of thing. Marketing studies. I don't know. I've never read any. But I'm sure they exist. Somewhere. In a file cabinet. Or on a computer server. Collecting digital dust.
I wonder who designs these things. Like, is there a team of cereal box designers? Or is it just one person? Maybe they specialize in cereal box design. Or maybe they design other kinds of packaging too. Like, boxes for crackers, or cookies. Or maybe even soup cans. Although soup cans are different. They're cylindrical, not rectangular. So the design principles are probably different. More curves. Less folding. Unless it's a label. Labels are kind of like flaps, I guess. In a way.
And then there's the inside of the bag. Sometimes it's just plain. But sometimes there's a coating. Like a waxy coating. To keep the cereal fresh. Or sometimes it's foil, like a metallic foil. That's also for freshness, I think. But it also makes a crinkling sound when you open it. Which can be annoying. Or satisfying, depending on your perspective. And how tired you are. If you're very tired, you might not even notice the sound. Or the flap. Or anything, really.
Thinking about all the different kinds of cereal boxes out there is kind of overwhelming. Like, there are so many brands, so many flavors, and each one has its own unique box design. And flap design. It's a lot to take in. It makes me feel kind of sleepy, actually. Just thinking about all of it, all those boxes, stacked up in the grocery store aisle, waiting to be chosen, and opened, and then thrown away, or recycled, eventually.
So as we were saying, or rather, as I was saying, and perhaps you were listening, these cereal box flaps, they're really something. I mean, they're just there, aren't they? Folded over, sometimes glued, sometimes not. Sometimes they have a little tab you can tuck in, sometimes they just sort of rest there, against the box, and the designs, well, they often echo the front, a bit smaller, a bit less vibrant. Sometimes they have a game, or a maze, or a word search, but more often than not, it's just more of the same. Just more of the same, really. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe you've never even considered it before. That's all right, too.
Yes, the redundancy, the repetition, the way the design elements from the main panel are often, but not always, carried over to the smaller, flatter flap regions. It's a curious choice, isn't it? One might even say a predictable choice. They could do anything there, really, couldn't they? They could put a recipe for a casserole, or instructions on how to build a birdhouse. But no, it's usually just more cereal. More of the same smiling cartoon mascot. More of the same bold, primary colors. Well, it all blends together after a while, doesn't it? Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe you find it all quite stimulating. We wouldn't know. We're just here, talking about cereal box flaps. And that's okay.
It's a subtle art, really. Or maybe it's not an art at all. Maybe it's just practicality. They need to seal the box, after all. Keep the cereal fresh. Keep the air out, the moisture out, the little bugs out. And the flaps do that, don't they? They fulfill their primary function. And perhaps that's enough. Perhaps we shouldn't ask for more from our cereal box flaps. Perhaps we should simply accept them for what they are. Folded pieces of cardboard. Often printed with something, sometimes not. It's all rather, well, it is what it is, isn't it?
The texture, too, that's something we haven't really touched on. The smooth, glossy cardboard. Or sometimes it's matte. Sometimes it's a little rough, depending on the brand, the type of cereal, the printing process. So many variables, so many subtle variations. And yet, they all serve the same purpose. To fold, to seal, to protect, to be opened, and then, ultimately, to be discarded. It's a fleeting existence, isn't it? The life of a cereal box flap. Or perhaps we're reading too much into it. It's just cardboard, after all. Just cardboard, isn't it?
And what about the inside of the flap? We've talked about the outside, the printed side, but what about the inside, the unprinted side? Often just plain brown cardboard, sometimes white, sometimes a slightly different shade of brown. It's a world of its own, isn't it? A hidden world. A world that rarely sees the light of day, unless, of course, you unfold the flap completely. And sometimes, even then, it's still partially obscured. Hidden in the shadows. Mysterious. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just cardboard. Again.
We could go on, couldn't we? We could talk about the different ways the flaps are cut. The different shapes. The different sizes. The way they fold. The way they crease. The subtle sounds they make as they're opened and closed. The way they feel against your fingertips. There's a whole world of cereal box flap minutiae just waiting to be explored. Or maybe not. Maybe we've said enough. Maybe you're already asleep. That's all right, too.
Perhaps we'll revisit this topic another time. Delve even deeper into the nuances of cereal box flap design. Or perhaps not. Perhaps we'll move on to something else entirely. Something equally mundane. Something equally uninteresting. The possibilities are endless, aren't they? Or maybe they're not. Maybe we've reached the limit of uninteresting topics. Maybe that's enough for tonight.
Yes, perhaps. Or perhaps not. We'll see, won't we? Or maybe we won't. Maybe it doesn't matter either way. Maybe we've said enough about cereal box flaps. At least for now. But we'll be back. With more something. Eventually.
Thank you for joining us. Let go of the day and drift softly into rest. There's nothing more to do. Nothing more to think about. Just this moment. Just your breath. Just peace. Sleep well.
Good night and sweet dreams.